What about a 5 seconds for the music?
Yeah, it's already going to 18.
Oh, okay, well, hello everybody.
Hello.
Good day.
Today we have a guest.
Today we have a guest.
His name is Taylor McMeekin.
Oh, I know him.
Do you?
Yeah.
I know him too.
Oh, wow.
That's weird.
That's probably actually, that's probably why he's here.
This is the bubble. We're in each other's bubble, so
Exactly.
it makes sense that Taylor came.
COVID guest, so we're living together.
I mean, the distance in this room is kind of...
Yes, we know, we kind of feeling at this for sure.
Yeah, definitely the moistness from our mouths are
It's very moist.
very
yes.
moist.
The newest swear word, droplets.
Droplets. Yes.
Yeah.
No
Just-
droplets.
Do you have your mask? I have my mask actually.
No, we're not doing this with masks. We're not going to be those people.
I'm breaking the wall again.
Oh.
Great. Tarek's going to fine us for that.
Just on the Felicia's bill, please. Thank you.
This week, Taylor is going to take us through tipping culture. Taylor, tell us a bit about yourself, who you are, what you do.
All right. I thought there was more to that, but yeah, so I'm Taylor. I'm the chef of the Chase currently. That is the only name drop I will have right there.
There you go.
Shout out to the Chase. That's my job on the show. I just do the shout out.
I've been working in restaurants for about 25 years. I have seen a lot of different aspects of it and worked for a lot of different places, everything from corporate to very small bistros. I like to cook. I like local food. I'm a pretty big supporter of community and the idea that food is all part of community and that we really need to work together in order to find that and make that happen for every level of the food industry, from farmers all the way down to
Absolutely, yeah.
workers to, chefs.
Shout out to the farmers.
Shout out to the farmers.
Farmers, watch for my post tomorrow on the farmers.
Love you.
You know this doesn't come out as
It's
your
okay.
posts come out, right? Just to make sure the dates are not going to be...
When I said people were like, oh, wait, there was a post?
Yeah,
And
they'll have to
back.
go scroll back.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so Roman doesn't know much about tipping because he hasn't worked in a real restaurant in years.
All I know is
So-
I just liked it.
But he definitely worked in some higher tipping
He has,
restaurants.
but it's been a long time since he's actually stepped
So actually
foot.
what I do is
So this is just an educational seminar?
every time I film my video, I actually like pay myself, and I was just like, here's
In
a
cash.
5.
Yeah. Good job.
Go have a beer. So it's just like, I play restaurants, like kids play with their little kitchen. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I do.
Yeah, you have a little Fisher Price.
Exactly.
Place
I,
it.
Yeah.
I actually get really awesome videos from my youngest cousin who wants to be a chef,
There you
and
go.
I got one last night of him with his new chef hat on.
Oh.
It was pretty awesome.
At least he wears the
Like
hat.
a paper hat?
No, it's full blown, like black poofy.
Oh.
Oh boy.
Wearing a nice custom apron. I'm
There
like,
you
wow,
go.
you're like 4. I couldn't
Oh,
afford
okay.
that until,
It's
like,
a little
5 years
child.
ago.
Okay, I thought it was like an adult cousin.
No.
I don't know why he's wearing the hat.
I'm gonna have to sell on my apron. Shout out to Buy My Apron.
The leather apron. Both of you two
No,
are
it's
part of
not
the
leather.
the leather apron crew.
No, actually, we'll have to talk about my apron one day and bring the lady here.
Yeah, but the
It's-
two of you
it's for the
both.
good cause. Not my leather
rock.
apron, my actual recycle apron.
Sure.
I mean,
By
when you
ladies
don't
and idiot.
actually do anything fashionable for yourself outside of your place
That's
of work
true.
because you're there all the time, it's time that I actually spend some money
Yeah.
to, try to look decent while I'm
With the leather
with the
aprons.
leather apron.
Everyone knows my hate for leather aprons.
Yeah, we can see in my comments on my Instagram how much she hates my leather aprons.
Okay, back to the topic. In the last, I would say 4 or 5 months, tipping in restaurants has become this huge thing. How it correlates to slavery and the discrepancy between back of house and front of house, and how tips are distributed, and the unfairness between cooks. And I mean, as a group of 3 cooks ourselves, we all know the struggle of what we were being paid and what the front of house is being paid as well.
Yeah.
So now it seems like everybody well, what we know from in our city is looking to restructure the tipping system. So Taylor has taken a stand in his company, our company, the company we work for,
The company.
to try to change how our cooks are being taken care of, and where we see there's a huge unfairness, if you want to call it,
Disparity.
yeah, between what the front of house makes and what the back of house makes, and the overall morale, and you know, how cooks are like basically suffering because no one wants to share.
It's a good way of putting it.
Trying to be nice.
That was incredibly diplomatic. Yeah, I mean, this is something that we've seen throughout, I don't know, like forever.
Forever, for sure.
It's not, this isn't something that's going to be easy for one side or the other to break through from. And you know, when you are used to living a certain type of lifestyle, and you know have to change that lifestyle to show fairness throughout every level, it's going to be a difficult process any way you look at it. Now, a lot of people have just full on changed it, which is fantastic and good for them. But I think the long and short of it is we still have to look at everybody and try to create some sort of synergy throughout in order to make this fair for everyone. You know, we all realize that, or I hope we all realize that we're probably going to lose people if they realize they cannot, you know, afford their lifestyle anymore. But what we don't think about from that aspect of things is that there's people that have been working that should have been able to afford a lifestyle similar, but can barely pay their rent or you know, buy their own groceries or whatever that be, have a outside life outside of their work. And I mean, you know, there's so many levels of this, from, you know, alcohol culture to you know, what would it be like? I mean, just being able to pay your rent.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
Like
you go.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you go from like a cook that's gonna like barely make it for his rent in a basement apartment in Toronto to a server that is flaunting their trip to Miami or the latest Mexico beach, right? So I think this is kind of like where lifestyle comes to place. Because at the end of the day, and again, we're not saying that one job is harder than the other, whatever. I think it's just like, exactly, we working kind of like in the same environment. We should be able to make the same kind of money.
Equal work, equal pay.
Well, yeah, pretty much. I mean, I remember like my first job, I was 14, 15, and then my first envelope was a €5 bill. €5. This is what they were giving me for a month of work. And then I would go to my to the sous chef's house, and his girlfriend, who was a server, was like dropping cans of coins in front of me, right? And you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's like 20 years ago, and it's still current. It hasn't changed.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Like everything we've been talking about, like things don't change.
Nothing's
They've always
changed,
been
yeah.
there.
Yeah, just to put in perspective, the cost of living in Toronto, which is a high rent city and a high
2280 is like living wage.
For a yearly salary, for your yearly wage to live in Toronto, to pay rent, to, you know, pay all your bills, is between $43,000 and $46,000 a year before tax.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
And I think we can all say that, like, a lot of cooks and chefs don't even make nearly as much as
No, I would say you're probably in the 38 to 42
Yeah.
range.
You're absolutely correct.
and that's tight.
Oh yeah, that's just living.
You're like living
You're not
in a
having
basement
fun.
apartment.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you have roommates.
Yeah. You don't go on trips.
You don't go on trips. Like, saving is hard.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing too. I mean, like, it's really hard to just, I mean, when you work, you want to work towards something, right? You want to work towards buying a house and your retirement. But one thing that owners don't understand is, like, they live paycheck to paycheck, and then if you're late a day or two on pay, these guys are not able to make rent.
Yeah.
So that tip is, the tips is kind of like what's helping them to kind of like survive, to buy food. You know what I mean? So I mean, like, how many times have you had a cook come to you being like, I can't eat?
Yeah,
'Cause
or I need to get a second job.
Yeah, or third.
Yeah.
And they go crazy on staff meal, and you're like, are you okay? Because I mean, you got to look at these things. And
Yeah.
like,
If
is
staff
everything
meals provided.
if
Right.
if it's that's another one.
Another thing, yeah.
But and you're like, is everything okay? And it was like, well, like that's my only meal today. And
Isn't it funny how like sometimes the front of house are like the first to eat staff meal
that
when it is
too?
there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just flutters.
If
Shout
anybody
out
can
to-
see Taylor's
I mean-
face.
Well, they can.
Shit. I mean, like, I think this whole thing, especially from my perspective, is I don't want it to be about one side against the other.
Yeah, this is
Absolutely
not
not.
bashing.
And this is
Yeah.
and this is just fact.
Mhm.
And you know, I like a lot of the front of house. I've
Mhm.
always gotten along with front of house. I have a lot of very good friends who are bartenders.
Yeah.
I don't disrespect them because
Of course,
You
no,
know,
not at
they-
all.
This is just what culture has
yeah,
been.
this is just how it's been, and
Yeah.
when it's the norm.
Yeah, there's no one to be blamed because
Yeah.
I mean, this is just the way it is. It's been created that way, and then
Mhm.
they are, and then why would they want to change it anyway?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But like exactly, I think it's more. It's not about exactly one against the other. It's just about, hey, let's just make it a little more fair for the one that really are in the shit, and especially at the bottom of the ranks, right? When you make a lower hourly rate,
Yeah.
that's the one that suffer the most, right? I mean, management it's another tier, because I mean, obviously, you know that when your salary, yes, you're making a salary, it's a set, paycheck, but also you're working like if you were
double.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, I've always had my tip structure going from like the bottom to the top. It's just now I think you have to find a way so it's equal for everybody, right? And it's actually easy because I've done it at the last restaurant I worked at in 1972. But it's actually very easy. I mean, it's a lot more work for the chef in the sense that you actually have to count how many hours each chef has worked, and you just plug it in.
Yeah.
You put the hours you work, boom, this is fair. Like, this is the amount I have to split, put into an Excel sheet, and then it tells you exactly,
The management tips gets tricky.
Yeah.
It's
But
There's a lot of law
yeah,
surrounding that.
Yeah.
and-
yeah.
laws and I mean, some companies who pay their management like $30,000 a year and then subsidize the rest with tips. It's a little.
No, yeah, I mean,
It's a little wrong.
no, I think tips should be a bonus. I mean, like, you should, like, and again, you should be paid fairly from the go. So, like,
Yeah.
so your hourly rate is good for
Yeah.
everyone.
For
Then, on top of that, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, your salary, you're expected to work more. That's not the issue there. It's just, like, are you being paid fairly for the amount of work you're doing?
Absolutely.
That's just it.
So right now, if you work as a bartender, a server, an SA, you're paid between I think $12.20 an hour and $14 an hour.
Correct.
And if you're like a cook or a chef, I would say that ranges between 15 to
15 to
19
Still
on the
14.
yeah
Still
on the
14.
good
Yeah,
good
14
scale.
14
19
to
is
20.
starting to
Yeah.
see a few places do that.
Yeah, I would say 20 is you're you're the boss online.
Yeah,
right?
or
So
you're
like-
working at a hotel.
Yes, but then the salary are like way higher.
Or
Then
like even places
Catering
like the
companies.
keg
Yeah.
and places
Yeah.
like that. Now, I mean, what part of that business model is suffering? It's the food, because
Mhm.
the food is, obviously
Not the best.
some of the poorly sourced.
Listen, I like a keg baked potato any day.
Actually, I've never been to the keg.
That's actually
I'm
surprising.
not gonna do shit.
You don't want a keg gift card? No.
I've only been there once.
Never been.
Okay, well,
Is it good?
No.
it's not good. It's not great. No.
I mean, the Raptors apparently like it because they do the shout out every.
Do they really?
They probably get that, like,
Yeah. If we can
They
get that,
probably
actually,
shout
you
out.
know what? Shout out the keg.
Shout out to the keg. I want my slice. Okay. And that will come. I
I've
promise.
seen what the Raptors eat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's true. That's very true. They're very simple people.
They eat a lot.
They do.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, they're not small people.
We can talk about all my boyfriends later, okay, guys?
Yes.
Sorry.
Shout out to Sergi Becca.
That's a big shout out to Sergi Baca.
Yeah, he's my homie.
Okay. Okay, back on track. So there is a pay difference between front of house and back of house, but still there's a huge gap at the end of the day between a cook and a front of house person. If you break it down, at some restaurants, some front of house people make close to $50 on like per hour, including their tips, and a cook probably doesn't hit over $20 even with their tip an hour.
Yeah,
No.
the tip usually add up like $1.50 or something
Yeah,
like that.
it's like
yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
So right now, everyone's in this like big whirlwind of trying to change how this is done, and basically, there's people who are for equality and people who are, against it, and
Just like the world we live in, right? The people that have the money usually don't like to
don't want to give
no.
it up.
Yeah.
No.
And it's not even a lot of money they'd be giving up.
No, not if you're talking about like a week or a
Yeah.
day. How much that is, like, if you break it down to
Mhm.
those numbers, they're 2 coffees.
Yeah.
They're 2 drinks at a bar. They're your takeaway lunch.
Yeah.
That's usually what it comes down to,
Mhm.
and it's not it shouldn't be super affecting their lifestyle in that sense, but I think it's the overall of looking at it at a year where it's now compounded to be this amount, which is what is really messing with the change.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And do you there's been a lot of talk of how tipping culture and slavery are a direct connection with each other.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
As well as sexism and some of the
Mhm.
ways that especially the female staff is treated in our front of house, and that's something we have to look at heavily as well, and be advocates for not letting this happen in our houses. This is our house. Like, if we're there all the time, that makes it our house. I mean, I'm a fucking white guy.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
I know. Trust me, me and my man look at each other and I have to tell him a lot of times that he's a white guy.
And so I maybe there's been a spout of ignorance at some points throughout my career, or just you don't see it the same way. Do I see a direct correlation? Maybe not direct, but there is. After reading and thinking about it from someone else's point of view, it disgusts me.
Yeah.
How real and how true it is.
What do you think about how Europe and Australia have totally they don't do tips at all?
And that's actually what I was gonna bring up. It's just like something that I know, because obviously, like in France, we don't tip. Like if you leave €1, it's like, oh, you guys did a really good job. Here's €1. Because it's just not, and that's what we love when Americans are coming to town, right? Because we know they're gonna tip regardless, but it works, and that's the thing. It's like we looking at a problem like it's impossible, when for centuries it's been done in Europe, where you just don't tip. You get paid a salary. First of all, you're not paid by the hour, you're paid on salary.
Oh, even front of house.
Yeah. And it's equal. I mean, like, it's funny actually. No, cooks are getting paid a little more than servers.
Well, a cook in
They're doing
Europe
16, 18-hour days for the most part.
Yeah, so they definitely work more because you're on salary, so you definitely are putting the hours. But at least you know that, like, you can plan your finances. I think there's something like there's that safety that this is what I'm working with every month. So based on that number, I can work with. When you pay by the hour, it's kind of, oh, you know what? Like, when you get that text at 9 a.m., oh, don't worry, coming in today. I'm like, oh, well, fuck. I mean, I was planning on that, like, $150 I was going to make.
Yeah.
So I think we're talking about a problem that's literally doesn't exist in, like, not half the world, but kind of, right? So it's possible.
Capitalism.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very easy. You just basically, the way it's worded in the menu is that, like, you included already, like, that the portion that you're going to pay your staff is included in the price of the menu. So when you pay $50 for menu, there's, I don't know, 10% that goes back to both your servers and your cooks. So that way there's no, and it makes it a safer environment, because you don't feel the pressure of tipping, and you don't feel the pressure of like serving a customer more than another, because you get paid the same and you deliver the same job.
Yeah.
So in Toronto, Richmond Station got rid of tips as of what, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
2 or 3 weeks
Last
ago.
week or 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
And there's different feedback coming from that, good and bad.
Yeah.
I've heard mixed things from mixed feelings and like ideas of how it may be good and may not be good. Richmond Station is your direct neighbor.
Yes. Yes. And I like those people.
Yeah, I like them too. Listen, I used to go borrow cream from them all the time. I need eggs. Knock on Richmond Station's door.
Yeah.
So Richmond Station got rid of tips and I think increased their menu prices.
18% from what I understand.
Right. And there was conversation before when no one really knew, well, are they going to increase wages 18%? Because it would only be fair that 18% goes directly to front of house or back of house employees, right? Do you know anything about that?
I don't know enough that I can actually
Yeah.
speak to it with education.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
I tend to not do that. But from what I have heard is the model for front of house pay there is based more on skills.
Right.
Similar to what it would be in a kitchen. If you can do this job, you have this
Earn more,
incentive
yeah.
by
Right.
wage. I mean, quote me on that, but like, don't.
Yeah.
Like,
No, yeah.
because I'm not 100%
Sure,
so,
how it is. Yeah.
yeah.
I got some feedback from front of house people how they were upset because it wasn't actually it wasn't equaling out to what they were making originally, which I think
Which can't
makes
happen
sense.
Yeah, exactly.
if we're talking
Yeah.
about equalizing it.
absolutely.
Yeah. But what do you think about that model about totally getting rid of tips, tacking on the 18 or 20% onto a menu? Do you think owners are going to make it fair and giving that direct 18% back to their staff, or do you think they're going to use that to cover costs with food, with liquor?
I think it's a little different than that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's just directly owners, but I think it's perception of society. And I mean, I do feel like a lot of the clientele that I deal with on a general basis likes to throw that money around. They want to show that they're giving you more. They want it to be like very
Loud.
very
Yeah.
loud and well known.
Yeah.
Especially in that side of Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oops, I'm still breaking the wall.
Do I believe that this could be taken advantage of very easily from a company perspective if they're not forthright and transparent
Mm-hmm.
enough? Yes, 100%. Do I believe there are people out here that will do it properly? Yes, 100%. And it's just like, you know, it's taking people at their word basically.
Right.
When it comes down to that, are they gonna show their financials outright to show that they are? Is that something that the government has to step in and manage slightly? You know, if you have gone to this model, you need to show that you are creating this fair living wage.
Mm-hmm.
You need to show that, you know, you're not just taking it all in. I mean, the rules with taxing behind tips is pretty crazy. And you know, I have been having conversations about this. So like giving a controlled tip, yes, the company has the right to tax out of that tip pool.
Yeah.
But at the exact same time, then they have to claim it.
Everyone heard
Shout
that.
out to the fans.
Sorry, fans.
Then
It's
they-
getting hot in here.
Then that company has to claim that
Yeah.
amount that they've taken for
Mhm.
taxes and then pay tax on that. So
Mhm.
like that's like a mind-blowing circle if you really think about it.
Yeah.
So I mean, in
Well,
that sense, abolishing tips makes much more sense.
But that's the thing. I think it's just like a simple system where I think that 18%, like, yes, you could be like, we keep it, but I think it will show very easily if you just raise your wage or your staff. And then now when you come to work, I was like, a server makes 18 an hour, a cooks make, based on level, obviously, let's say like a SA makes 16, and then a server, whatever, a regular server 18, and a captain makes 20. And then I think if you just make it so like you have
rankings.
Rankings, and this is what it is. This is our policy in our company. You know that if you got in, this is like, there's no negotiation. You get that much, and then that's fair. This is what it is. And then if somebody wants to tip, like, don't get me wrong, like, on top of it, I think that's fine, and that can be into a pool and split equally, or that can be put into somewhere we're gonna take the staff, and have an outing or something like that. But I think it will make everybody just more relaxed into their work environment as well. But you have, as an owner, yes, you have to, from the get-go, I have 18%, how do I split them? And you know what, if there's like 3% that goes back into the pocket of the employer, by all means, because they did the work to actually put this into place. No, but like, you have, well, I mean, like,
but you are going to have to pay managers. You are going to have to pay people to
but
actually.
Owners cannot take.
By owner, because I'm thinking as like a chef owner, not as in like, you know what I mean? So, like, again, like we talk at the same time, I was like, I don't want like somebody that putting his money into the business, if they make nothing, like, that's not also the, I mean, like, I'm thinking as a chef owner, let's say I'm buying my restaurant, and then I have, you know, if I'm paying everybody, but like I have nothing, I have $0.
But legally, you're not allowed to take anything. If you're signing checks,
if I'm
you're
working.
if you sign checks, you're not allowed to take any tips.
You are.
No, you're not.
No, if you work service.
No.
Yes.
No. Not if you're a sole proprietor.
Yeah,
or,
if you are signing checks, or the owner,
I'll make sure someone else. No, I'm just kidding.
you're not allowed. You're legally not allowed to take any gratuities.
Correct.
And that's a big
I've
thing
never
that
signed check
happened.
before.
A lot of people. That was happening a lot.
Yeah.
A while back, I would say, like 5 years ago.
Yeah, and I mean, things were being taken advantage of, and this is where it started. The major, like, CRA claims. I remember the last place I was working, they were talking about putting, like, basically a reader on every POS machine to see how much was coming in and manage all that. So that they knew that they were getting the taxes back. But then we get into that next sort of thing is tax claiming, and you know how much of this gratuity money is not being utilized in our economy. Yes, it goes right back into our economy for the most part, which is actually probably better for the country, but at the exact same time, you know, there's no tax being paid on a lot of this stuff. The claim amount is all this, and you know,
What do you think the ideal tipping breakdown structure would be to make it fair for all parties who work in a restaurant?
I mean, again, that would have to do with hourly wage and how everything plays through.
Because for me, it would be cooks. This idea of like cooks making minimum wage should stop.
Oh, 100%.
Just because of the physical
100%
and mental.
Yeah.
So it's more. I would say I put the onus on owners and you know the management to be paying these people more dollars.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what does that look like though? How much do prices have to raise in order to do that? You know, like a lot of us are already fighting with pretty tight margins, and I mean, especially smaller, like 40 seats, like the smaller places are, you know, their margins are 2 to 4%, you know, whereas some of the larger places can be upwards of 6-7%, and that's down in the past 10 years by like 3%. So, you know, it's consistently coming back due to increased food costs, you know, increased labor costs, obviously.
Rent.
You know, rent is insane, especially if you know anything about rent in downtown Toronto. Holy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like there's so many factors involved. There's so many factors, and like to just say this is the right way.
There's not
There's not one right way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
There's
it's gonna,
it all depends on where.
there's going to be so many test runs too. I think
Mhm.
everybody's going to have their idea. I think again, like there's no right or wrong as long as it's fair.
Yeah.
Then if you do it one way and it's fair to your cooks and your servers, then that's fine.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? If you do another way and it's still fair, then absolutely no problem.
Yeah.
I just think it's just like if it's, and I think you'll have the feedback right away. I mean, if you see that now the cooks are making a lot more and then the servers aren't, you're like, okay, well then we need to like adjust
Adjust.
We need
the
to
balance
these
again.
scales,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because again, it's not about like one being weighing more than the other.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's about
I also think it has to do with like educating people who go out to eat,
This is a huge thing, right?
because
People,
like
people don't understand how much food costs.
No. and like industry people, like we know when we go out to eat or other people in the industry, like everyone's pretty understanding of what food costs,
Yeah.
what to tip, but there's more people who aren't in the industry that don't know.
it's the food cost and it's like the labor. I think people know food cost a little more than they understand labor. From what I've seen, and then during pandemic, doing all this like live cooking sessions, right, with regular folks, and they're like, "Oh wow, I didn't realize it was so difficult to make croissant," or like, you know what I mean?
Whoa.
But
That's just one of the most
you know,
difficult things to
right?
make, right?
But they've been like when
Yeah.
I made the first comment, so it wasn't like, but like when I posted that video, the highest comment I got was just like, "Holy fuck, I didn't realize it was so."
And your croissants look pretty ugly too.
No, not the one that you.
Nah, they were pretty ugly. They were
Yeah.
pretty bad.
It was my first time. Okay, so how about you make them? Okay, while filming yourself.
So you
all right?
had a sheeter, you had like every piece of equipment you needed in
I
your
wish.
kitchen, and
But yeah, shout out to who rolled the croissant by hand. Okay, but people were like, "Oh wow, it takes so long. It's such a process, and it's days, and blah blah blah." And then another time was just I was making we were making short ravioli with like on a Zoom
Was
lesson.
that short rib ravioli you said?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
And people were like, I didn't realize making handmade pasta was so difficult. Which to us, I guess we know like, why is it that difficult? But like and this is where like it's natural. Like, they're like, oh wow, like it's actually doesn't come out of the fridge
Mhm.
already made.
Yeah.
And I think this is the part where they don't realize that not only it takes time, but like sometimes it takes days because you can't just do something like you have
braise your short ribs 2 days before, then you have to pull them, then you have to set them, then you have to.
Yeah, and then you like let's say you rest, you do it for a half hour. You got to pay your cooks for the half hour where let's say that's the only job they have. They wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And that's the part where they
You got
don't.
time to lean, you got time to clean.
That's the one. You know.
Mantra.
Yeah.
But I think that's what's wrong with independent restaurants is because people so often go out to big brands.
And look at the
The
reviews.
Kegs, the Cactus Clubs, the Joey's, they're always full and food is cheap there.
And it's literally out of a package.
Yeah, and it doesn't take much, and like that's nothing to do with like the cooks and the chefs
Not
who
at all.
work there.
It's
It's
just a
just
model.
the
Yeah.
model, and it's a successful model because they're
That's why
making.
everybody wants a company, right?
Exactly.
That's why they want to be able to like contract buy. They want to be able to
Right.
Franchisee.
push everything. Like all of their overhead costs go down the more employees they have.
Mhm.
Insurance,
Everything,
everything.
but you take a person.
I mean,
or,
per restaurant.
yeah,
Not like you're still adding rent on every time
Everything.
you have something, or you're still adding this on, but
We have one chef for the whole company
Exactly.
rather than one chef per.
Yes.
restaurant.
but guests who frequent those restaurants and then go to somewhere like the Chase or any of these other restaurants who are independent and see the price of something similar are shocked because they don't understand
The quality.
the
difference.
quality difference. And then it comes down to, well, don't go out to eat if you can't afford to tip. Would you agree with that?
Oh god. I feel like I keep saying the same thing. Like, I run an expensive restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
I run an expensive restaurant because every product that you get in that restaurant is coming from a local farmer,
Yeah.
a local company. as local as Canada can get. I mean, we don't have the
Right.
ocean right here,
Yeah.
so I definitely have to work on both coasts. But if you think about the amount of different hits, like how many different costs come to getting that product to us, and then having, you know, someone who actually cares about putting that food together prepare it, then, you know, you've got sous chefs, you've got, like, there's ranks all the way down.
Right.
And then, you know, making sure that everybody's fed, or making sure that we have a good community in the back of house, as
Yeah.
well as, like, trying to make sure that those people don't cause issues with the front of house, and because they're already angry at the
yeah.
tip disparity.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so it's like this big
another layer.
circle, right?
Mhm.
Like, and my probably largest comment, if you read any reviews, is place costs too much for what you get.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of political aspect in that too. I don't feel comfortable serving food that was produced by, you know, people who aren't being paid, or, you
Yeah.
know, like, I'm not going to serve a black tiger shrimp from Vietnam where slave labor is happening.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
mean, we're not going to serve avocados.
But that's the thing, like, people who aren't educated in this have no idea that it costs more, because there's this huge pipeline of, like,
Yeah.
everyone needs to get paid fairly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's basically it. And for people who aren't in the industry, it's 18% or more now.
Or more.
You must tip 18% or more.
I mean, I'm a good tipper if
Yeah.
I feel like it's 18% if I feel I had mediocre
Mediocre
service.
service.
That's true.
And-
18%, exactly.
But-
That's what I do. 18% is like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it's just average. But that's just because that's in
We
my
know,
head.
but
and I
again,
see that.
education,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I mean, like, it comes down to the customer. At the end of the day, they are the one who are gonna kind of like rule our world, because they're the one that come to our places, and they're the one who are paying us. Like, let's just.
Yeah.
But I think it's education on costs of things and sustainability as well.
Absolutely.
I said that right. But you know what I mean?
You did.
Right? Oh, I'm so proud of me, guys. But that's another thing, because like I remember serving a 6-ounce piece of fish from Fogo Island.
Yep.
And for 30, shout out to Fogo Island. We love
We
you.
love Tony.
Tony, we love you. And I would and then I would charge, I think, something around $38. And people would be like, are you insane? I'm getting that much fish.
Yeah.
So there's two things. A, that fish costs that much. Two, stop eating that much proteins too. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, relax. You don't need to eat a
Yeah.
32-ounce steak by yourself.
Well,
No, you don't.
not by yourself.
No, by yourself.
No.
I'm
But
saying,
it is
like,
nice sometimes.
no, but it's nice. But like, but
But
then
it should be a special thing.
Yeah.
yes, A, it's a special thing. B, it's
Yeah.
got to be the highest quality, and then like
Yeah.
proper farming, local farming, and then share it with 3 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's all. I think
Yeah.
this is all I'm asking. Is just like know where your food come from, and know that you don't need to eat that much of.
But again, this comes from people who frequent these big chain restaurants
Absolutely,
who have piled on
absolutely.
these huge plates and
I agree.
expect this for like $25.
And that's why in Europe we make fun of like America being like, why do they need to eat that much?
Right.
Yeah.
You just don't understand.
Yeah.
That's a lot of it. I literally read a review today that was like, they should make their food more filling for the price. And I was like, so you just want me to load on a whole bunch of potatoes, or
Yeah.
like a whole bunch of rice to this? Like, you know, like, I mean,
It's just, yeah,
that's,
it's just
that's
like,
not,
that's
not
where
how
it
you
starts.
eat.
we're trying to be a more vegetable focused
Healthier.
market, healthier,
Yeah.
you know, trying to think about those things as well, and manage people's diets as well,
But
as
we are nutritionists.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I think as chefs, as restaurateur, we need to understand we are kind of in charge of. I mean, like obesity was not created by people eating at home. It was created by people eating at McDonald's and eating at all these places, right? Because if you eat at home, I'm sure you eat like pretty healthy, unless like, you do chicken nuggets at every meal. But I mean, like usually, like you eat pretty healthy. But then people just
Unless you have
order.
a bag of chips for dinner.
Is that healthy? Because it's only
It's
one
not.
bag of chips. But
Unless it's the foie gras, those Taurus.
The black truffle.
Yeah,
or
those are
foie gras
good.
ones.
Those are
Yeah,
good
no,
chips.
they're pretty okay, aren't they?
I wouldn't know. I don't eat chips, but
At all?
I'm not really a chip fan. No,
Oh,
crisps, as we say in the UK.
okay. Relax.
It's my little shout out to the UK. Love you guys.
So who do you think needs to make the changes when it comes to the tip disparity between front of house and back of house? Who should be leading those fights and those discussions and actually like putting forth these ideas?
Management.
Yeah.
Wherever they are.
Mhm.
I don't think it's 100% an owner's right to be doing that, but I mean, if you try to be part of a fair management structure and you know, see things with open eyes and you know, understand how it's going to affect different classes or different groups of people within your four walls, I think you have a more diplomatic approach to how to change.
Yeah, I would agree. I would think it was management.
Mhm.
I think both parties
Yeah.
need to come as well and like come together and there needs to be a little bit more understanding from the front of house in how a back of house person lives.
Yeah.
I think they're I don't know, maybe they're not, maybe they do see it, but I hope they don't, because it's like, I know, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but it's really hard. I don't think a front of house person really sees how hard it is for someone who works in the kitchen.
And I think it's like everything in life. I think when you have it good, you don't really pay attention to what else is around you. And you're gonna be like, oh, my life is tough. I'm like, yeah, your life. I mean, to each their own. Yeah, your life is tough, but that your problems are so little compared to, like, oh, my fucking Porsche just went down this morning. That's your problem, but it's a Porsche. So, do you know what I mean? And then some people was like, oh, I didn't eat today. That's my problem. So we both have a problem. They're just different, right? And I think people when they're doing okay, they just don't pay attention because it's just, I think this is who we are as human beings.
So this is another like little tidbit of stuff that I've been really recognizing lately, and like speaking to that is the overall selfishness of our society these days.
100%.
From, you know, a like on social to like just like we care about ourselves, and that's, you know, compared to like 15 years ago, it's insane. Like, you know, you used to care about everything around you, and that would be how, you know, you moved forward, and that the networking aspect of that, you know, before we had social, before we had all this, where you had to, you know, actually like make relationships with people in order to succeed. You know, we didn't just have that sort of networking tool at our fingertips. I think a lot of it is we've been conditioned to forget about how to create a society.
It's true. I mean, like this sort of disparity really, like it's worse and worse every year because I mean the level, the amounts, like how much money you're making also like is increasing, right? The rich getting richer, and then the poor getting poorer. So absolutely, we are. I mean, like, and don't get me wrong. Like in this room, I'm sure we're all guilty of it.
Absolutely.
And you know what I mean. Like, but I think being aware of it and like trying to change it it's so important. But it will take people that it's always the same thing. It takes people at the top to react in matter to help, right? Otherwise, if we don't change, then we cannot expect anyone else to change.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you want to see funny memes on Instagram about the front of house, back of house disparity, follow Les Celine.
Yeah.
By Ivy Knight.
Yeah, it's so good.
Where she just rips into owners and management and you know the class of each one.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ivy and her funny memes.
Shout out Ivy.
So basically we're at a point now where I think a lot of restaurants are looking to make these changes. I mean, at least I hope a lot of restaurants are
They're
doing
thinking
that.
about it anyways.
At least it's a topic of conversation.
Yeah.
What do we hope to see in, let's say, 3 months from now? What do you hope to see?
I mean, I'll be selfish. I want to see a change within the four walls I'm in right now.
Yeah.
You know, I will understand it from a leveling out perspective, that it's not going to be overnight 50-50, you know? But I would like to see the group that is having the most advantage from this concede slightly to, you know, think about the other people within their business.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
I think that's a good way of
Yeah,
putting it.
and I would love to hear people stop saying that, like, you chose this life, you cook.
Yeah, it's a whole form of discrimination in its own right.
It's sad.
It is sad.
It's sad that some, and not all, but some front of house people think that, like, we're lesser than.
Well, I think it's more than, it's not just front of house. It's a lot of people.
It's a
in
lot
the
of people.
society.
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
I
like-
think that we're like we kind of like.
Yeah.
Like
But
we're
going back to Europe, like, I was gonna say, like, the chefs and cooks in Europe are held at a much higher standard
Yeah.
Oh,
than
absolutely.
they
They're like
are
royalty.
in North America.
Yeah.
It's a
And-
job. I mean, you go to school for it.
Yeah.
First of all.
Yeah.
I mean,
And you have to.
You can
in
go.
order
You can
to
go to
succeed there.
and you can go to university
Yeah.
and have a degree. And the funny thing is, like, after I had my degree, I went to the UK right away.
Yeah.
And they were like expecting. They were like, "Oh, before you're gonna be like a little nerd, who goes to school for cooking?" And I'm like, "Excuse me?
Yeah.
Like, is it not a better thing if I'm educated? It wasn't not gonna make like the restaurant a better place if all of us are educated." But that's just again a perception of how people see the industry, right? It's like
Yeah.
very different. And I talk about France because that's what I know, but I'm sure it's different in like Germany or
Yeah.
Spain or Northern Europe as well.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Swedish people.
Oh my god. I can't.
Love your meatballs.
From IKEA. You're disgusting.
Love IKEA.
You're just-
Oh.
That was a joke.
Did
I hope
you say
we put on-
sustainability earlier?
I hope we put on this in my second degree.
Your humor.
In my humor, yeah.
Roman pulls up to IKEA once a week to eat those meatballs.
Fuck.
Anyways, well, any closing words, Taylor? Anything you want the people to know? You're biting your tongue. I know.
I'm not biting my tongue. I'm choosing my words.
It's okay. We're
Which
gonna
I
offend
don't.
people.
Yeah.
Roman offends
Yeah.
people every day.
I mean, I'm not in this for me. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think about, having, as I said earlier, creating a society, creating a culture that, goes back to caring about people. And just because we're in the hospitality industry, I feel like we say we care about people, we create this experience for people, but we're not doing that within our buildings
Yeah, we're
right
not
now.
taking care
We're
of
not
our
doing
own.
that. We're not doing that within our actual industry.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people need to step back and take a really hard look at where they've seen advantages, and where they can help to equalize the issues that we see day to day.
Yeah.
Whether that be, tipping or, racism or, just all of the systemic issues that we see inside restaurants, sticking up for our staff,
Yeah.
things a lot, like everything. There's just everything going on in restaurants right now that is awful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's not right now. It's always
Always.
been this way.
Yes.
But
Absolutely.
we're finally starting to really have a
Yeah.
conversation about it,
Yeah.
and there's so many levels, and there's so much to talk about. This is like this will never.
Never,
This is
yeah.
going to take years to
Years.
even make a dent.
And I think that's very, exactly. I think it's our job, it's our generation's job to make a change, but not
Absolutely.
for us, but like for the next
people.
generations.
Yeah.
But and I think it's always been the generation to do it for the next,
Yeah.
and they never did. So I think it's important that we, even though it's not gonna maybe impact on our lives, I think it's important that we do it so like the next generation hopefully understands, and they will have different problems, and it will be their time to kind of like take care. But you'll never do it for you. You have to do it for someone else. Otherwise, I think that the root of problems does say if you do something for yourself, you will never be kind of like, you will always be biased, right? So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think if you do it for someone else,
Yeah.
and we are doing other things together in that sense, I think it's very important, right? If you do it for someone else, you'll be a little more like open and trying to actually make a change because it doesn't impact your life.
Totally.
That was good.
That was the smart thing of the day on my part.
Thanks, Taylor, for coming. Follow
Thank you so
Taylor
much.
on Instagram at
Chef McMeekin.
There you go. He posts food pics, tattoo pics,
Yeah, that was not about
Records.
that was not a tattoo
Dogs.
day, but
his dogs.
love dogs.
Dogs are cute.
Dogs are super cute.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the dogs. Fuck
All
the
the
cats.
All right, guys. Thank you very much, Taylor, for coming early this morning.
Thanks for having
I
me.
know it's early.
No.
You were here before us.
You know, this
I was
is
15 minutes early, which is on time.
this
no?
is a tradition in our podcast. We just
The
let
two of us could never be on time.
we let our guests kind of fill the room, make it very awkward, and then we show up.
We make our grand entrance.
Well, it's nice. Tarek made us coffee.
Yes.
And, I mean, we
Shout
gotta-
out to-
we gotta-
Shout out to Tarek.
Shout out to Tarek Gator, yeah, for sure.
Five Studio for the win.
All right, guys.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Yeah. See ya.